I am Eric. I'm 32 years old, and my own brother tried to suffocate me in my sleep because he wanted to buy a sports car. Before I tell you how I destroyed his entire world with a single video file, let me know where you guys are watching from in the comments down below. I really need to know there are sane people out there because for a long time I thought I was the crazy one. It happened on a Tuesday night, or technically Wednesday morning. It was 2 a.m. I was staying at my grandfather's house in Portland. Grandpa Harold was dying. It was stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and the doctors said it was just a matter of days. The whole family had descended on the house like vultures circling a carcass. My parents, Robert and Susan, were sleeping in the guest suite downstairs. I was in the small guest room at the end of the hall on the second floor. My younger brother, Liam, had the room right next to mine. I've always been a light sleeper. Maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's just instinct. But that night I was exhausted. I had been the one administering Grandpa's morphine drips because my mother claimed she was too emotional to handle the needles, and Liam claimed the smell of the medicine made him nauseous. So I was out cold. The first thing I registered wasn't pain. It was pressure. Heavy, soft pressure crushing my nose and mouth. I woke up gasping, but no air came in. My eyes shot open, but all I saw was white cotton. The pillow. It was pressed down hard. I tried to thrash, to buck my hips, but there was a knee digging into my chest, pinning me to the mattress. My arms flailed, hitting the person above me. I felt the fabric of a silk pajama shirt. I knew that shirt. I had bought it for Liam last Christmas because he complained he didn't have anything decent to wear for his girlfriends. Panic set in. It's a primal, cold feeling that starts in your stomach and explodes into your limbs. Couldn't breathe. My lungs were burning, screaming for oxygen. I tried to scream, but the sound was just a muffled grunt into the down feathers. Then I heard his voice. It wasn't angry. It wasn't manic. It was terrifyingly calm. He leaned down, his mouth right next to my ear, the pillow still crushing my face. If strictly talking about math, Eric, he whispered, his breath hot against my neck, you're worth more dead. If you were gone, my share would be 100%. No split. Just me. I froze. For a second, the shock was stronger than the lack of air. My brother. My little brother, who I used to carry on my shoulders when we were kids. He was killing me. He was actually killing me. I started counting. I don't know why. Maybe it's the architect in me, trying to find structure in chaos. 1, 2, 3. I clawed at his arms. He was strong. He didn't work out, he didn't do manual labor like I did with my landscaping projects, but adrenaline is a hell of a drug. He was fueled by greed. 15 seconds. My vision started to get spotty behind my eyelids. Sparks of purple and red. My chest felt like it was going to cave in. 20 seconds. He shifted his weight, pressing harder. He was committing to it. He really was going to do it. He was going to kill me right here, with our dying grandfather just down the hall and our parents downstairs. 30 seconds. My movements slowed down. My brain was screaming, fight, fight, but my muscles were turning to jelly. The oxygen deprivation was hitting hard. I thought about my dog, Buster, waiting for me back in Seattle. I thought, this is it. This is how it ends. Smothered by a pillow. 40 seconds. I stopped thrashing. I was fading. Then, a sound cut through the silence. Thump, thump, shuffle. It was the distinctive sound of a walker hitting the hardwood floor in the hallway. Grandpa Harold. Liam froze. The pressure on my face vanished instantly. I gasped, sucking in air so greedy and hard that I choked. I coughed violently, rolling onto my side, tears streaming from my eyes. My chest was heaving. I was dizzy, the room spinning. Before I could even wipe my eyes, the door creaked open. The hallway light spilled in. Boys. Grandpa's voice was weak, raspy. Is everything all right? And this is the part that still haunts me more than the pillow. Liam switched. Instantly. Oh, thank God, Grandpa, Liam said. His voice was trembling, thick with fake concern. He was sitting on the edge of my bed, his hand rubbing my back. It's Eric. He was having a nightmare. A really bad one. He was thrashing around and stopped breathing. I had to shake him awake. I stared at him. I was still gasping for air, clutching my throat. I looked at Liam, and he looked back at me with wide, innocent doe eyes. He looked like the perfect, caring brother. I tried to speak, but my throat was raw. "It's okay, Eric," Liam soothed, loud enough for Grandpa to hear. "You're awake now. Just breathe." Grandpa shuffled into the room. He looked terrible, skin and bones, his hospital gown hanging off his frail shoulders. But his eyes, Grandpa's eyes were sharp. He didn't look at Liam. He looked straight at me. He looked at the way I was cowering away from my brother. He looked at the pillow that was twisted on the floor. "Eric," Grandpa asked softly, "did you have a nightmare, son?" I looked at Liam. His hand was squeezing my shoulder. Hard. "A warning. Don't say it. Nobody will believe you." I looked down at my wrist. There were red marks where I had scraped against the headboard, struggling. My throat hurt. I wheezed. "I need water." "I'll get it." Liam jumped up, the picture of helpfulness. "Go back to sleep, Grandpa. I've got him. I'm taking good care of him." Liam ushered Grandpa out of the room. I heard him whispering in the hall. "He's been under so much stress with work, Grandpa. He's just not handling your situation well. It's manifesting in his sleep." I sat there in the dark, trembling. I touched my face. It felt bruised. I wasn't crazy. I knew what happened. He counted the math. 100%. He wanted the whole inheritance. I got up, my legs shaking, and went into the attached bathroom. I locked the door. I stared at myself in the mirror. My eyes were bloodshot. There were faint red pressure marks on my cheeks. I wasn't safe here. My own family was in this house, and the person sleeping 10 feet away had just tried to murder me. But the scariest part wasn't the attack. It was the realization that he was right. If I told Mom and Dad, if I told them right now that their golden child tried to kill me, they wouldn't believe me. They would say I was jealous. They would say I was making scenes while Grandpa was dying. I sat on the cold tile floor of the bathroom and cried. Not out of sadness, but out of sheer, terrifying clarity. I was alone. But I was alive. And I knew something Liam didn't know. Grandpa Harold wasn't just a sick old man. He was sharp, and he had seen something in that room. I just hoped it was enough. To understand why my brother thought he could get away with murder, you have to understand the dynamic of the Perry family. I'm an architect, specifically, a landscape architect. I design parks, public gardens, spaces where people can find peace. Fits, I guess. I've spent my whole life trying to create order and beauty because my home life was a chaotic mess of favoritism and neglect. Liam is 2 years younger than me. He's handsome, classic quarterback looks, charming smile, the kind of guy who can talk his way out of a speeding ticket. He's also never held a real job for more than 6 months. Growing up, it was subtle at first. If I got an A on a test, Mom would say, "That's nice, honey. Put it on the fridge." If Liam got a C-, they'd take him out for ice cream to cheer him up because he tried his best. I became the invisible child, the self-sufficient one. I learned to cook my own dinner because Mom was busy driving Liam to soccer practice. I learned to fix my own bike. I learned that my needs were secondary to Liam's wants. The defining moment, the one that really severed the bond, happened when I was 18. I had been accepted into the University of Washington's architecture program. It was my dream. I had worked 3 summers mowing lawns and painting fences to save up, but I still needed help with the tuition for the first year. My parents had a college fund. They had talked about it for years. When the acceptance letter came, I put it on the dinner table, beaming. "Dad, Mom, I got in. I need to send the deposit check by Friday." My dad, Robert, didn't look up from his steak. My mom, Susan, sighed and put down her fork. "Eric, honey," she started. That tone. The "we have bad news but we're going to frame it like it's your fault" tone. "We can't do the tuition right now." "What?" I felt cold. "But the fund. You said." "Liam needs a car," Dad said abruptly. I looked at Liam. He was 16. He was smirking, playing with his Game Boy. "He needs a car?" I repeated. I need an education. He's 16. He needs to get to practice, Mom said defensively. And it's dangerous for him to ride the bus. We found a great deal on a nearly new Mustang. It's safe, it's reliable. A Mustang? I stood up. You're spending my college tuition on a Mustang for Liam? Don't raise your voice at me. Dad slammed his hand on the table. It's our money, Eric. We do what's best for the family. Liam is sensitive. He needs independence. You're strong. You can work. You can take a gap year. Or take out loans. You're smart, you'll figure it out. Liam needs our help. I took out loans. Massive ones. I worked 2 jobs through college. I graduated with honors. Liam crashed the Mustang 3 months later while drag racing. They bought him another one. That was the pattern. I succeeded in spite of them. Liam failed because of them and they rewarded him for it. But Grandpa Harold, he was different. Grandpa was a self-made man. He started with a single hardware store and built a small real estate empire in Portland. He was tough, quiet, and observant. He never said much during those Sunday dinners where my parents fawned over Liam, but he saw everything. One afternoon during my sophomore year of college, I came to visit him. I was thin, exhausted from working night shifts as a janitor. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $10,000. For school, he grunted. Grandpa, I can't. Take it, he snapped gently. And don't tell your parents. If they know you have money, they'll find a reason Liam needs it. A medical emergency, a business investment. They'll bleed you dry. He looked me in the eye, gripping my shoulder with his calloused hand. You're like your grandmother, Eric. Gentle but iron underneath. Liam is fool's gold. Shiny but soft. He'll break under pressure. That was the only validation I ever got. Fast forward to the present, or at least the weeks leading up to the pillow incident. I knew Liam was in trouble. Real trouble. Not just I overspent on my credit card trouble. I had overheard snippets of phone calls. He was pacing in the backyard when he thought no one was looking. He looked haggard. I need more time. I heard him whisper into his phone one afternoon. The old man is dying, okay? It's a matter of days. Once the inheritance clears, I'll have it. All of it. Plus interest. I didn't know the specifics then, but I pieced it together later. Liam had gotten involved with some bad people. He had rented a Lamborghini Aventador from a shady, off-the-books rental agency to impress a girl in Vegas. He didn't have insurance. He was driving drunk. He totaled it. The car was worth $500,000. The people he rented it from weren't the kind who sued you. They were the kind who broke your legs and then moved on to your family. He needed money. Fast. Grandpa's estate was worth millions. The house, the stocks, the land. But here's the kicker. Grandpa had been changing his will. A month before he got really sick, Grandpa had called me. Eric, he had said over the phone, I'm making changes. I'm tired of watching your parents pour water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Liam is a black hole. I didn't ask what he meant. I just listened. I'm setting up a trust, he said. Controlled. Strict. I assumed he meant he was locking Liam's share up, so he couldn't spend it all at once. I didn't realize how drastic the changes were. But Liam must have suspected. Or maybe he just did the math. If Grandpa died, the estate would typically be split between his children. My dad would get it. Dad would give it to Liam. But if the will skipped a generation, if it went to the grandkids, if it was split 50-50 between me and Liam gets half. But if I wasn't there, if I died, Liam gets 100%. That night in the bedroom, with the pillow over my face, he wasn't just a jealous brother. He was a desperate man with a death sentence hanging over his own head, deciding that my life was the price for his survival. The morning after the attack, I knew I had to get out. But I also knew I couldn't leave Grandpa. Not yet. I walked down to the kitchen. It was 7 a.m. My neck was stiff. My eyes were puffy. Mom was at the stove making pancakes. Liam was sitting at the table, drinking coffee, looking fresh and rested. He was scrolling on his phone, chuckling at a meme. The sight of him made me physically ill. Morning, sleepyhead. Mom chirped. Liam told us you had a terrible nightmare last night. Screaming and everything. Are you okay? You look awful. I stared at Liam. He didn't even look up. He just took a sip of his coffee. It wasn't a nightmare, I said. My voice was raspy. Mom turned around, spatula in hand. What? It wasn't a nightmare, I repeated, louder this time. I walked up to the table and slammed my hand down. Liam flinched just a fraction. Liam tried to kill me. The silence in the kitchen was absolute. The bacon sizzled in the pan. Excuse me? Mom laughed. A nervous, high-pitched sound. Eric, that's not funny. He came into my room. He put a pillow over my face. He held it down for 47 seconds. He told me I was worth more dead. I looked at Dad, who had just walked in with the newspaper. Dad, look at my face. Look at the marks. I pointed to my cheek. The redness had faded, but there was still a slight bruising. Dad squinted at me. Then he looked at Liam. Liam put his mug down slowly. He looked heartbroken. He looked like a kicked puppy. Eric, Liam said softly. I know you're stressed. I know seeing Grandpa like this is hard for you. But why would you say that? I came in to help you. You were choking on your own spit. I turned you over. You liar. I lunged at him. Dad caught me. He grabbed my arms and shoved me back. Hey, that is enough. Dad roared. What the hell is wrong with you? He tried to smother me. I screamed, fighting against my father's grip. He needs the inheritance money. He's in debt. Oh my God, Mom whispered. She looked at me with pure disgust. This is about the money? Grandpa isn't even cold yet, and you're fighting about money? And accusing your brother of murder. I'm not accusing him. I was there. You were asleep, Dad yelled. You were having a night terror. Liam saved you, and this is how you thank him. He's jealous, Liam said quietly. He wiped a fake tear from his eye. He's always been jealous of me, Mom. Ever since we were kids. He hates that Grandpa likes me. He wants to be the only one. I don't hate you, I spat. I despise you. Get out, Dad said. I froze. What? Get out of this house, Dad said, his face red. I don't want you here stressing your mother out. I don't want you here upsetting Grandpa. You're unstable, Eric. Go back to Seattle. We'll call you when it happens. You're kicking me out? He tried to kill me. Go, Mom screamed. Just go, Eric. You've always been dramatic. Just leave us alone. I looked at them. My mother, eyes wet with tears for the wrong son. My father, protecting the predator. And Liam, smiling behind his coffee mug. I realized then that I could have a video of him doing it, and they might still find a way to excuse it. They were too far gone. Fine, I said. I felt a strange calm wash over me. I'll leave, but remember this moment. Remember that you chose him. I went upstairs to pack my bag. I had one last stop to make. I went into Grandpa's room. He was awake, staring at the ceiling. He looked so small in that big bed. I sat down beside him. I took his hand. I have to go, Grandpa, I whispered. Mom and Dad kicked me out. Grandpa turned his head. His eyes were milky, but he focused on me. He squeezed my hand, surprisingly strong. I heard, he rasped. His voice was barely a whisper. The walls are thin. I'm sorry I can't be here for the end. I choked up. Grandpa pulled me closer. He gestured for me to lean down. Don't worry, he whispered. Let them play their games. I've already cast the actors. What? He winked. A slow, deliberate wink. The bear, he whispered. Remember the bear. Grandpa, you're not making sense. Go, Eric. Stay safe. See you at the reading. He closed his eyes and pretended to sleep. I didn't know what he meant. I just kissed his forehead, grabbed my bag, and walked out of that house. I drove back to Seattle in a daze, checking my rearview mirror every few minutes, terrified that Liam might be following me to finish the job. I didn't know that was the last time I would see Grandpa alive. 5 days. That's how long it took. I was at my office, staring at a blueprint for a rooftop garden, when my phone rang. It was Dad. "He's gone," was all he said. "No, hello. No, how are you?" "When?" I asked. "An hour ago. Peaceful." Dad paused. "The funeral is on Friday. Don't make a scene, Eric. If you come, you sit in the back, and you keep your mouth shut." "I'll be there," I said and hung up. I didn't cry immediately. I think I had done my grieving in the car ride home 5 days prior. Instead, I felt a cold resolve. Grandpa's words kept echoing in my head. The bear. Remember the bear. I drove back to Portland on Thursday. I didn't stay at the house. I booked a hotel room downtown. I wasn't going to give Liam another chance to catch me sleeping. The funeral was a blur of black suits and fake condolences. My parents played the grieving children perfectly. Liam was even better. He stood by the casket, accepting hugs, looking solemn and devastated. I watched from the back row, isolated. People whispered when they saw me sitting apart from the family. "That's the older brother," I heard a cousin whisper. I heard he had a mental breakdown and attacked Liam right before Harold died. Shameful. They had already spun the narrative. I was the villain. Liam was the victim. After the service, I was walking toward my car when a woman approached me. It was Margaret, Grandpa's next-door neighbor. She was a feisty woman in her 70s who used to bake cookies for me when I mowed her lawn. "Eric," she said, clutching her purse. She looked nervous. "Hi, Margaret. Good to see you." She looked around to make sure my parents weren't watching. "I shouldn't be talking to you. Your father told the neighborhood you were dangerous." I sighed. "I'm not, Margaret. You know me." "I know," she said firmly. "I know who mowed my lawn for free. I know who fixed my gutters." She stepped closer. "Your grandfather, he came over. About 3 weeks ago. He had a technician with him." "A technician?" "For the security system," she whispered. "He gave me an envelope, sealed. He told me, 'If anything happens to me, you bring this to the will reading. Do not give it to Robert. Do not give it to Susan. Give it to the lawyer, David Chin.'" My heart skipped a beat. "What's in the envelope, Margaret?" "I don't know. But he made me swear on my life." She gripped my arm. "The reading is tomorrow at the house. Noon. Be there, Eric. Don't let them keep you away." "I'll be there," I promised. That night I couldn't sleep. I paced my hotel room. I realized what Grandpa had done. He knew. He knew about the money, he knew about Liam's debt, and he anticipated the greed. The next morning, I put on my best suit. I drove to the house. The driveway was full of cars. A shiny new Porsche was parked right in the front. A loaner, presumably, or maybe Liam was counting his chickens before they hatched and had leased it on credit. I walked to the front door. It was locked. I rang the bell. Mom opened it. Her face hardened when she saw me. "We didn't think you'd come." "I was invited by the executor," I said, holding up an email from David Chan, the lawyer. She stepped aside reluctantly. "Just stay in the corner." The living room was set up with folding chairs. My parents sat in the front. Liam was next to them, looking bored but confident. He was texting, probably his bookie. David Chun sat at the head of the room behind a mahogany desk. He was a sharp man, impeccable suit, glasses. He looked up when I entered and gave me a curt nod. "Good. Everyone is here," Mr. Chen said. "Can we make this quick?" Liam asked, slipping his phone into his pocket. "It's been a hard week. We just want to get closure." "Closure?" Mr. Chun repeated. He had a strange look on his face. "Yes, we will certainly get closure today." "Where is the will?" Dad asked. "I assume it's standard? Split between me and Susan." Mr. Chun opened his briefcase. But he didn't pull out papers. He pulled out a laptop and connected it to the large flat-screen TV mounted above the fireplace. "Mr. Perry made significant changes to his will 1 month ago," Mr. Chun said. "He also left specific instructions that this video be played before the reading of the assets." "A video tribute?" Mom dabbed her eyes with a tissue. "Oh, Dad, that's so sweet." Liam shifted in his seat. He looked uneasy. Is this necessary? Can't we just read the document? It is mandatory, Mr. Chun said. He pressed a button. The screen flickered to life. It wasn't a professional tribute video. It was grainy footage. High angle. Black and white. I recognized the room instantly. It was the living room we were sitting in right now. What is this? Dad asked. Security footage, Mr. Chun said. From a hidden camera installed inside the grandfather clock. On the screen, two figures walked into the frame. It was Liam, and a man I didn't recognize, big, tattooed, wearing a leather jacket. Derek, Liam's friend, aka his dealer/loan shark. The timestamp was 3 weeks ago. You got the stuff? The man asked on the video. Yeah. Liam's voice came through the speakers clearly. I've been slipping it into his tea. Just enough to keep him confused. Keep him weak. The room went deadly silent. My mother gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. When's he gonna kick it? Derek asked. My boss is getting impatient, Liam. That Lembo wasn't a toy. Soon, Liam said on screen. He was laughing. The old bastard is tough. But once he's gone, I get half of everything. Dad will give it to me. He always does. Half isn't enough to cover what you owe plus the VIG, Derek said. Then I'll get all of it, Liam said. Eric is coming to visit. Maybe Eric has an accident. Maybe Eric gets depressed and leaves. If Eric is out of the picture, I get 100%. Turn it off. Liam screamed in the real room. He jumped up, his face pale as a sheet. This is fake. This is AI. He faked it. Sit down, Mr. Perry, Mr. Chin boomed. No, I'm leaving. Liam turned to run, but the front door opened. 2 uniformed police officers stepped in. Officer Miller, a family friend, looked grim. Sit down, Liam, Officer Miller said. You can't do this, Liam yelled. Watch, Mr. Chun commanded. The video cut. New footage appeared. This time it was color. It was night vision. It was my bedroom. My stomach dropped. The camera angle was from the bookshelf, from inside the teddy bear Grandpa had given me as a joke gag gift years ago. The bear. On the screen, I was sleeping. The door opened. Liam crept in. He looked frantic. He stood over me for a long time. Then he grabbed the pillow. The entire room watched in horror as my brother, the golden child, pressed the pillow over my face. They saw my legs thrash. They saw my hands claw at his arms. They heard the audio. It was crystal clear. If strictly talking about math, Eric, you're worth more dead. My mother let out a sound I will never forget. It was a wail. A primal, broken sound of a woman realizing her entire reality was a lie. She slumped forward, burying her face in her hands. Dad was frozen. He stared at the screen, mouth open, watching his favorite son try to murder his other son. Then the footsteps. Grandpa's walker. Liam pulling the pillow away. The instant transformation into the caring brother. The video ended. The silence in the room was heavier than the pillow had ever been. Mr. Chun closed the laptop. He looked at Liam, who was now trembling, backed against the wall by the police officers. Mr. Harold Perry knew you were poisoning him, Mr. Chun said calmly. He stopped drinking the tea weeks ago. He died of cancer, Liam, not your poison. But he lived long enough to make sure we got this. Mr. Chun turned to my parents. The will states that any beneficiary who attempts to harm another beneficiary is automatically disinherited. Furthermore, because of the evidence of attempted murder and elder abuse, he looked at me. Eric Perry is the sole beneficiary of the entire estate. The house, the funds, the land. Everything. Let's rewind slightly, just for a moment, to explain the atmosphere right before that video played. I want you to feel the tension. Before Mr. Chun opened that laptop, the arrogance in the room was suffocating. Liam was practically spending the money in his head. He had looked at me, smirked, and mouthed the word loser. My parents were discussing renovations. We'll tear down the sunroom, Mom had said to Dad, loud enough for me to hear. It's too drafty. And maybe we can help Liam with that investment property he wants. They were carving up the carcass before the funeral dirt had settled. They treated me like a ghost. I sat there clutching the arms of my folding chair, heart hammering, wondering if Margaret had actually delivered the envelope, wondering if Grandpa's bare comment was just a hallucination of a dying man. I felt small. I felt like the little boy who didn't get the tuition money. But when Mr. Chun looked at me, there was a spark, a tiny nod. It was the moment I knew. I'm not crazy. That validation, even before the video played, was the first breath of fresh air I'd had in years. I also noticed something else. The police officers didn't just wander in. They were waiting in the kitchen. Margaret had let them in through the back door. She was sitting in the corner, knitting, looking like an innocent old lady, but she was the executioner's assistant. The level of coordination Grandpa had orchestrated from his deathbed was staggering. He knew he couldn't protect me physically, he was too weak. So he built a legal and digital fortress around me. Back to the room. The video ends. The air is sucked out. Liam is cornered. "Mom!" Liam screamed, looking at Susan. "Do something. Tell them it's fake. Eric did this. He's a computer guy. He deep-faked it." My mother looked up. Her mascara was running down her face. She looked at Liam, really looked at him. For the first time in her life, she saw the monster. "You," she whispered. "You said he had a nightmare." "He did." Liam lied, desperate. "That video is edited. We have the raw files," Officer Miller said, stepping forward. "And we have the toxicology report from your grandfather's autopsy. Traces of arsenic and sedatives. Low levels, but they were there." "Arsenic." Dad stood up. He looked like he was going to vomit. "You poisoned your grandfather?" "I needed the money." Liam cracked. He screamed it. "I needed the money. Okay? Those guys were going to kill me. You guys wouldn't give me enough. You gave me the car, but you didn't give me cash. It's your fault." He pointed at Mom and Dad. "You made me this way. You always gave me what I wanted. And when I needed real help, you just bought me toys. It's your fault." That was the dagger. Liam, in his final moment of freedom, blamed the very people who had enabled him. Officer Miller grabbed Liam's wrists. "Liam Perry, you are under arrest for attempted murder, elder abuse, and suspicion of homicide." They clicked the handcuffs on. I watched. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. The silence was my victory. The arrest was chaotic. Liam was kicking and screaming as they dragged him out to the squad car. The neighbors were all watching. The golden child was being hauled away like common trash. When the door closed behind the police, the room fell silent again. It was just me, my parents, Mr. Chun, and Margaret. My parents sat back down. They looked shell-shocked. They looked aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Mr. Chun cleared his throat. "Now, regarding the estate. Mom's voice trembled. "Is there anything left for us?" Mr. Chun looked at the papers. "Robert and Susan Perry. Harold left you the family photo albums, and his collection of vintage stamps." "Stamps," Dad whispered. "The estate is worth $4 million. The rest," Mr. Chun said firmly, "goes to Eric." My parents turned to me. The look in their eyes changed. The shock was fading, replaced by that familiar calculating look. Survival mode. "Eric," Mom said. She stood up and walked toward me, arms open. "Oh, my baby. Oh, thank God you're okay. Thank God Liam didn't hurt you permanently." She tried to hug me. I took a step back. "Don't," I said. She froze. "Eric? We're shocked. We didn't know. We're victims here too. Our son. He's sick. He needs help." "He's not sick," I said. "He's evil. And you fed him." "We tried our best," Dad argued, finding his voice. "We loved you both equally." "Equally?" I laughed. It was a cold, dry sound. "You spent my college tuition on a Mustang for him. You kicked me out of the house the morning after he tried to kill me. You called me a liar. You called me unstable. We were stressed," Dad yelled. "We didn't know." "You didn't want to know," I countered. "The signs were always there. You just liked being the parents of the cool, popular kid. I was just the spare. Eric, please, Mom pleaded. We're a family. We have to stick together. Liam is going to prison. We only have each other now. And, well, this house is too big for one person. We can move in here, help you manage the estate. We can heal together. I looked at Mr. Chun. What are the terms of the house transfer? It is yours, effective immediately, Mr. Chun said. You have the deed. I looked at my parents. I want you out, I said. What? Mom blinked. Get out. Take your things. Take your car. Get out of my house. You can't do that, Dad said. We're your parents. Actually, I can. I'm the owner. And you are trespassing. Where will we go? Mom cried. We sold our condo to move in here and care for Grandpa. We have nowhere else. You have the stamp collection, I said. Maybe you can sell that. You ungrateful little. Dad started to lunge, but stopped himself. He realized I held all the cards. I had the money. I had the power. You have 1 hour to pack your bags from the guest suite, I said. If you're not gone by 2 p.m., I'm asking Officer Miller to come back. You're a monster, Mom spat. You're worse than Liam. At least he loved us. He loved your wallet, I said. And when that ran dry, he tried to kill me to refill it. If that's love, I don't want it. I turned my back on them. I walked over to Margaret. She was smiling. She handed me a cookie from her purse. Your grandfather would be proud, she whispered. I listened to my parents packing in the other room. They were arguing, blaming each other. I told you we shouldn't have bought him that car. You're the one who spoiled him. They were tearing each other apart. The toxicity that they had directed at me for years was finally turning inward. By 3 p.m., the house was quiet. My parents were gone. They loaded their stuff into their SUV and drove off, peeling out of the driveway in anger. Liam was in a holding cell at the county jail. I stood in the living room, felt huge. It felt empty, but for the first time in my life it didn't feel lonely. It felt safe. I walked up the stairs to Grandpa's room. I sat on his bed. Mr. Chun had given me a letter after the reading. Handwriting shaky, written a few days before he died. Dear Eric, if you're reading this, the plan worked. I'm sorry I had to put you through this. I'm sorry I couldn't be the father figure you needed earlier. I tried to keep the peace, but peace at the cost of justice isn't peace. It's surrender. The house is yours. The money is yours. But don't let it anchor you. Use it to build something beautiful. Design those gardens you talk about. Create spaces where people can breathe. Your parents, they aren't bad people, perhaps, but they are blind. And I couldn't let their blindness kill you. You're the gentle one, Eric. But remember, the gentle ones are the most dangerous when pushed, because they have nothing to lose. Love, Grandpa. I folded the letter. I cried then. Real tears. Not for the trauma, but for the gratitude. He had seen me. The next few weeks were a legal whirlwind. I had to give statements to the police. I had to secure the house. Liam's lawyer tried to reach out for a plea deal, asking for leniency from the family. I told the DA to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. There would be no leniency. My parents tried to call. I blocked their numbers. They sent emails. I set up a filter to send them straight to trash. I heard through the grapevine, Margaret, that they were staying at a Motel 6 on the outskirts of town. Their friends had abandoned them after the news of the attempted murder and the poisoning came out. Their reputation was ruined. They were just the parents who raised a monster. As for me, I kept my promise to Grandpa. I hired a contractor. We tore down the wall between the kitchen and the living room, the wall where my mom used to hang Liam's participation trophies. I opened up the space. I let the light in. I sat in the garden I designed in the backyard, watching the sunset. I took a deep breath. My lungs filled with air. No pillow, no pressure, just oxygen. It has been exactly 365 days since the police lights flashed in my driveway. 1 full year. If you walked into my house today, you wouldn't recognize it. And honestly, neither would my parents. The dark, Oppressive velvet drapes they loved so much are gone. I tore them down myself. The heavy oak furniture that smelled like furniture polish and pretension? Donated. I didn't just renovate the house. I exorcised it. I turned the entire ground floor into the headquarters for my landscape architecture firm, Perry and Associates. The living room, where the will reading destroyed my family, is now a bright, open-concept drafting studio. Where my father used to sit and judge me, there is now a drafting table covered in blueprints for a community park in downtown Seattle. Where Liam tried to run from the police, my new assistant, Sarah, organizes client files. The air in the house is different now. It doesn't smell like secrets and old money anymore. It smells like fresh coffee, wet soil, and hard work. But let's talk about the loose ends. Because I know you guys are wondering, what happened to the golden child and his enablers? Justice, it turns out, is a slow grinder, but it grinds exceedingly fine. The trial was a circus. My parents hired a high-profile defense attorney using the last of their savings, and when that ran out, they took out high-interest loans. They were convinced they could spin the narrative. They tried to paint Liam as a victim of drug addiction, a troubled soul who was temporarily insane. But the video, you can't argue with 4K video and crystal-clear audio. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Liam was sentenced to 15 years in a state penitentiary for attempted murder, elder abuse, and fraud. I was there when the gavel came down. He didn't look at me. He just wept. Not the tears of someone who is sorry, but the tears of a spoiled brat who was finally being told no. As for my parents, Robert and Susan, their fall was perhaps even more tragic because it was so quiet. Without Grandpa's money, without my financial support, and with a mountain of legal debt, they drowned. They were evicted from the motel they were staying in. The last I heard, they are living in a one-bedroom apartment in a rough part of town. My father, a man who used to refuse to drink wine if it wasn't a specific vintage, is now working as a greeter at a big box store. My mother cleans houses. I know this because they still try to contact me. About 3 months ago, I was sitting in my office, sketching a koi pond design, when my phone buzzed. It was a blocked number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Eric. It was my mother. Her voice sounded thin, brittle. Hello, Susan, I said. I couldn't bring myself to call her mom. We saw your interview, she said, in the Architecture Digest. The house looks different. It looks like me, I replied. Listen, Eric, she rushed on, the desperation leaking through. Your father, his back is bad. He can't keep standing on those concrete floors all day. And the heating bill is piling up. We were thinking, since you're doing so well, maybe we could just borrow a little, just to get through the winter? We're family, Eric. Doesn't that mean anything? I looked out the window at the garden Grandpa and I used to tend. It means everything, I said. That's why I'm not giving you a cent. How can you be so cruel? She sobbed. We raised you. You raised a spare part, I said calmly. You invested everything in Liam. You bet on the wrong horse, Susan. I'm not your retirement plan. I'm the survivor of your parenting. I hung up and blocked the number again. It didn't hurt this time. It just felt like closing a book that I had already finished reading. But the real test, the final twist of the knife, came last week. I received a letter from the correctional facility. The handwriting was unmistakable. Looped, messy, hurried. Liam. I sat with that envelope for an hour before opening it. I stared at it, wondering if I should just burn it. Part of me, the little brother part, hoped for an apology. I hoped that a year in a concrete cell had humbled him. I hoped he would say, I'm sorry, Eric. I lost my mind. Forgive me. I sliced it open. Eric, I know you're living it up in the house. Must be nice. I'm rotting in here. The food is garbage. The mattress is thin. I need money for the commissary. I need protection money, actually. There are guys in here who know I came from money, and they're pressing me. Mom and Dad are useless. They're broke. You're the only one with cash. Put $5,000 on my books by Friday. If you don't, I'm gonna start talking to the press. I'll tell them you set me up. I'll tell them you manipulated Grandpa. I'll write a book, Eric. I'll ruin your reputation. Don't be stupid. You owe me. You took my life. Liam. I read it twice. Then I started laughing. I laughed until my ribs hurt. I laughed because it was so pathetic. Even in prison, even after everything, he still thought he had power. He still thought he could bully me. He still thought the world revolved around his needs. He didn't understand that he had given me the greatest gift of all. He had shown me exactly who he was. There was no ambiguity left. No, maybe he loves me deep down. No, he was a predator. I walked over to the fireplace, the one in the living room where we used to hang stockings for Christmas. I lit a match. I held the corner of the letter and watched the flame curl the paper. I watched his threats turn into black ash. I watched the words, "You owe me," disappear into smoke. I didn't reply. I never would. His silence would be my answer. After burning the letter, I felt a pull to go down to the basement. It was the only room I hadn't fully renovated yet. It was Grandpa's old workshop. I started sifting through some old boxes of his. Tools, old tax returns, rusted screws. And then, tucked behind a loose brick in the wall, a classic Grandpa hiding spot, I found a small, leather-bound ledger. It wasn't a bank book. It was a journal. I opened it, the dust dancing in the light of the single bulb. The entries went back 20 years. August 12, 2004. Robert asked for $5,000 for home repairs. Saw Susan driving a new car 2 days later. Put $5,000 into Eric's secret account. December 25, 2008. Liam got a dirt bike. Eric got a sweater. Eric didn't complain. Put $2,000 into Eric's secret account. June 20, 2012. They took Eric's tuition money. My heart breaks. I gave him what I could. I will make sure he gets the rest when I'm gone. Page after page. Year after year. Grandpa hadn't just been watching. He had been keeping score. He had been matching every dollar my parents wasted on Liam with a dollar saved for me. I sat on the cold concrete floor and wept. This wasn't about the money. The inheritance was just numbers in a bank account. This ledger was the proof of love. Every entry was a silent hug. Every dollar was a whisper saying, "I see you. You matter." I realized then that I was never truly alone. Even when I felt invisible to my parents, I was the most important person in the world to him. I took the ledger upstairs and placed it on the mantel, right next to a framed photo of Grandpa and me fishing. That ledger is worth more to me than the house, the land, or the millions. It is the foundation upon which I am building my new life. So here I am. It's late afternoon now. The sun is setting over the garden I designed. It's a Japanese-style peace garden, gravel, moss, maple trees. It requires patience to maintain. You have to rake the gravel every day. You have to prune the trees with precision. It's a lot like life after abuse. It requires constant maintenance. You have to rake away the bad thoughts. You have to prune the toxic people. I'm sitting on the wooden bench Grandpa liked. My dog, Buster, is chasing a butterfly near the pond. Sometimes, in the quiet moments, I still feel the phantom pressure of a pillow on my face. I wake up gasping for air. The trauma doesn't just vanish because you won the court case. It lingers in your nervous system. It hides in the dark corners of your sleep. But I'm learning to breathe again. I've started therapy. I'm dating a wonderful woman named Sarah. Not my assistant. A different Sarah. A veterinarian who loves dogs as much as I do. She knows the story. She doesn't look at me with pity. She looks at me with respect. She knows I'm a survivor. I've realized that family is the most dangerous word in the English language if you don't define it correctly. For 30 years, I thought family meant obligation. I thought it meant letting people hurt you because you shared DNA. I thought it meant setting yourself on fire to keep them warm. But I was wrong. Family isn't blood. Blood is just biology. It's an accident of birth. Family is behavior. Family is loyalty. Family is the people who, when you are choking, don't press the pillow down harder, they wake you up. Family is Margaret, the neighbor who risked her safety to smuggle evidence. Family is Mr. Chun, the lawyer who fought for my grandfather's wishes. Family is Grandpa Harold, who loved me enough to protect me from beyond the grave. I look at the scars on my soul, and I don't see weakness anymore. I see the map of my escape. I used to wonder why me? Why was I the scapegoat? Why was Liam the golden child? I finally have the answer. It's because I was the only one they couldn't break. I was the threat. My independence, my resilience, my ability to be happy without their validation. That terrified them. Liam needed them. He was a parasite and they were the host. I was a separate organism, and they tried to crush me because I reminded them of their own failures. If I hadn't gone through the fire, I wouldn't be the man I am today. I wouldn't have the steel in my spine. I stood up and walked to the edge of the pond. The water reflected the sky, a brilliant mix of orange and purple. I pulled out my phone. I had one last thing to do. I scrolled to contact Liam one last time. I hit delete. Then I scrolled to Dad. Delete. Mom. Delete. Gone. I put the phone in my pocket, whistled for Buster, and walked back toward the house. My house. My sanctuary. The lights in the studio were glowing warm and inviting. I had work to do. I had a life to live. And for the first time in 32 years, that life belonged entirely to me. Friends, before we go, I want to take a moment to really talk to you about what we can learn from this. My story is extreme. Attempted murder is rare, but the dynamics behind it are incredibly common. There is a lesson here about boundaries and toxic loyalty. Many of us are taught that we must forgive family no matter what. We are told, but she's your mother or he's your brother. This creates a dangerous trap. It makes us tolerate abuse, manipulation, and financial exploitation because we are afraid of breaking that sacred bond. But here is the truth I learned the hard way. You are allowed to divorce your family. You are allowed to cut ties with people who drain your spirit, even if you share a last name. Setting a boundary is not an act of hate. It is an act of self-respect. If someone constantly demands you sacrifice your happiness for their comfort, that is not love, that is usage. My grandfather knew this. He knew that protecting me meant cutting them off. Don't wait until there is a pillow over your face to realize you are unsafe. Trust your gut. If you feel invisible, if you feel used, acknowledge it. You have the power to walk away. You have the power to build your own chosen family. I really want to hear from you guys now. Does this resonate with you? Have you ever had to make the hard choice to distance yourself from a toxic family member to save your own sanity? Or maybe you had a Grandpa Harold in your life who saved you. Please share your perspective in the comments. Or if you simply agree that we need to normalize protecting our peace, just comment the word good below. Seeing that word tells me that you stand with survivors and you value these lessons. Thank you for listening to my story. Stay safe, stay strong, and remember, you are worth more than what they say you are.